Okay, guess we'll start. Just briefly, I guess to introduce, I'm Alex. I work at StarkWare. In case we haven't met, and I'm on the product side of the developer tools, and Max here is leading the effort of Starknet Foundry from a software mention. And basically, yeah, what we want to go over today is introduce a bit the architecture of the project, what is currently possible, what is currently being worked on, and what are the plans for the near future. Then hopefully to go over, like, again, structure and what is the best way to help, and hopefully then have some discussions on ideas you have, how to get involved, etc. So I think from here I'll leave the stage to Max.
Okay, hi everybody, nice to see you. I'm Maximilian, and I'm currently leading the effort of Starknet Foundry, and I'm from Software Mention. And I want to first start with briefly introducing Starknet Foundry to you, in case somebody is not familiar with bits. And until now, I believe everybody are familiar, so I will keep it brief. So generally, Starknet Foundry, a goal of Starknet Foundry is to bring the Foundry quality and speed to Starknet, and to bring all like contract development capabilities of Ethereum Foundry to Starknet. So basically, it's a contract development toolchain. So right now, what it does, it's Ethereum counterpart. It's like modular toolkit. So it's right now it consists only of 2 modules. Maybe in the future there will be more of them. First one is Forge, is the main one, and this one is can be considered a testing tool for Caira contracts and for Caira itself as well. And its main purpose is just you can test your contracts, and it introduces different utilities to help you do that. And the second module or subtool is Cast, and Cast is a kind of DevOps tool for Starknet. So it's basically a CLI. You can deploy if you finish your contract, you can deploy those contracts on testnet or mainnet. And this is it. And those 2 are right now more in focus of the development effort. Yeah, and right now, I believe we try to maintain a roadmap of the features, because the product is under active development, as it started, like it was initially released, I believe, 2 weeks ago. So it's still like lots of things happening. Yeah, first, of course, it allows you to run tests written in Caira, and aside of testing Caira functions, you can also test contract interactions. So you can deploy your contracts and call them. Also, Cast supports most of the, I think, all of the important interactions with Starknet, and also supports multi-calls with a nice interface. And important to note, it's an improvement over traditional Foundry if somebody is coming from the Ethereum background, because Mind Foundry uses submodules, and we have it better here, and we are using Scarp for package management. So it's actually pretty neat. I won't go over it right now, but if you are interested in those things and how those work, and you want to get started working with this tool, we maintain a Starknet Foundry book, which provides introduction to every feature that we support currently. So I think it's the best resource to learn Starknet Foundry. Yeah, and I think this is the main introduction of the project. Does anybody has any questions at the moment?
Hello, Maximilian. I will just ask something quickly about, I talked about with Alex and Jonathan about SNcast. And just about another redundancy with Starknet, there is any projection on that, or because, for instance, when I checked the repo for the first time, I was trying to see where I can, collaborate, and I just see that how this will go, because I can understand that perhaps SNcast will have other features or differently implemented. So, what the plan for that, just to be, aligned with the project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. I think at this moment there are some overlaps over StarkCast. Okay, so right now, cast is how we say it. We and Alex as well is cast will be more focused for like developer utilities. So it will provide very good support for deployment of your contracts. Or I don't know, for example, right now we're starting working on something like deployment scripts in Cairo. So you can like embed complex flows of deployments and stuff like that. And this will more focus on the cast. As well, it's kind of heavily integrated with Scarp. So basically you have to work with cast effectively. You generally need to have like whole project set up. And it's like, it works well and it's designed to work well in context of a project you have already. And we see Starknet as being a bit more of a lightweight Starknet client for people who just want to, for example, read Starknet or just use it, but they're not, can be developers, but not only those. Yeah, we're targeting developers more. That's I think a goal here.
That's pretty clear. Thank you very much. That's a nice explanation. Thank you.
Great. Okay, anybody else has any questions? I'm happy to answer any doubts or concerns, or I don't know, explain something, go deeper into something if somebody's interested. Okay, so I think we can, right now, after we got over what the project is, I would like to keep this call more focused on how you can help, because this is the most important part, because we believe Starknet Foundry is a project that we want to get community involved. It's very ambitious, it's large, and I think we bootstrap the effort in Starknet, but we really hope that people in the Starknet community will get involved into that, and we can build this tool together. So we really want to work on it and develop a good framework to work with external developers as well. And there are a couple of ideas. I will be very open to your ideas, how we can improve on that. And also, I would like to also give you some introduction to the project structure and how you can start right now. So yeah, I think first, as I said, we are really open to onboarding external contributors, and we try the best way to start. So for people who want to quick info, best way to start is to just select some issue labeled with first issue. We have a solid list of those. I think those are already like close to 20. And we try to mark issues like that if they're good for new developers. So basically, if you just want to start working on Starknet Foundry, you can just select one of these issues. You can write in the description that you like recommend you want to work on it. And the best way to proceed further is to get in touch with us. So we know you're working on it, and we can keep in contact and help you if you get any roadblocks on your way. So this is how I would encourage to start, because even though the project is new, it's already got pretty big and there are lots of complex stuff there. So it's the best way to learn. Yeah, and generally going a bit deeper, so there are two modules, but technically we written Starknet Foundry this way. It's like proper Rust-like modular projects. So it consists of different modules. If you go to overview crates, there are multiple separated parts of the application. So there is a test collector, which is responsible for collecting tests, as name says. It's Forge. which is responsible for running your tests, is cheatable Starknet, which is a kind of backend framework, backend execution engine, which is used by Forge to execute your contracts if you call your contracts from tests. And this is Cast, which is a CLI. Yeah, and we generally try to mark our issues with those components, so you can kind of know which component you will touch when you're working on the issue. Sometimes there are two of them, but generally we try to keep it like issue per component, so those are not overlapping too much. Okay, does anybody have any questions here?
What's the difference between Forge and the test collector?
Test collector is very small, great. It's basically responsible only for like finding tests and compiling them, and Forge is responsible for executing like compiled code. But those are pretty like tightly coupled with each other. Anybody else has any questions? Okay.
Sorry. Yes, just a quick one. I am reading a bit the code too, but cheat codes, can you just explain a bit more what exactly the philosophy and about them? And because I know a bit Ethereum, but not a lot, and I see also this vocabulary, but can you just, you know, give a little introduction to that?
Of course, I think like it's a pretty new feature to the Starknet Foundry. We released it just yesterday, so it's still not check marked on the roadmap, and it's also still work in progress because we are adding them progressively. But generally, cheat codes are functionality which allows you to provide preset states which you can test your contract on. So, for example, you can kind of mock some situations on chain without writing special code for that. So, example of this is, for example, prank is good, I believe. It basically what it does when you call start prank from a test, you give it a contract address you want to target. You want to give it, and you give it a value of caller address. And what it does, it for the contract you targeted here, it will modify, like mock, the value is returned by the contract you pranked. So basically get caller address will return a different value you provide here. So here you can see like hit assert passes because it just mocks this value. And it's, for example, useful for testing some kind of this contract will reject something. This contract will reject something in case the caller won't be an owner.
And under the hood, where do you connect that? Is you, because the test runner, for instance, that is run under it is like you modify the test runner to be able to alterate the Starknet state which is inside, or what the strategy for the execution of this on the test runner?
It's getting a bit deeper in the technical part, but generally how it works is test runner is somewhat an instance of like Cairo VM, like Forge itself. It's like instance of Cairo VM, capable of running like only Cairo code, not exactly a Starknet code. But it's like Starknet code, but basically you don't run it like on chain context. It's just like you just run test function. And we expose set of library functions, like we expose like Starknet Foundry library, which you can like this start prank is like part of this library. And you can call this. And under the hood, I'll go back here. It basically, what it does, if you are familiar, I don't know, you're probably new, if you don't know how you're new to the Cairo or not, but the old Cairo was concept of hints. And hints is a way you can embed it, not Cairo logic into Cairo. Yeah. and those are utilized to do so. So CheiroVM this CheiroVM holds some Starknet state, and those hints are used to call this state and execute actions on them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
Maybe for later when we have time, but I think it would be interesting to go over how to implement a cheat code. So take an example and go over the components in the code that needs to be modified for a new cheat code to be added.
Okay, actually it would be interesting if we'll have time to get dwelled into the code. I think it's like showing how those existing are implemented. I think will be interesting. But sometimes it goes a bit like we are still working at abstracting better. So sometimes it's a bit low level in some places. But generally, yes, I think we can go over that. Maybe from like perspective of organization, I think if somebody wants to get like involved on a regular basis and we're involved on a regular basis and work on some things, I think we can make this community call a regular thing. So you can, for example, some specific questions to think you are working on, you can join in and we can discuss this a bit more specifically. Yeah, so I think we'll be doing something like this. I think there are not many of us today, so I think it will be a good place to like just discuss stuff, and it's enough small group so we can go into the details and explain things. Okay, so does anybody else has any questions, or we right now can go and maybe I can just show you how, for example, StarkPrank is implemented, which might be interesting.
So maybe just before we dive into that, maybe a short overview of what's planned soon, or what maybe is already currently in the works in terms of the features and the roadmaps and the open PRs, and maybe where people can already pick up some.
Okay, I think like the best place if you just want to do your first issue is just start with first issue. And I think those are generally, some of those are dogs, but some of them are more interesting. And you can just start there, and then like you can get some familiarity with the code base. And further, I think like generally, if you are interested in implementing some bigger feature, you definitely should get in touch with us, and we can discuss it. But sometimes it's a bit more stuff to think about. But generally, we try to have some kind of roadmap of things we plan to work in the next couple of months. So basically, what we are working right now, we are adding more cheat codes. So mocking calls is right now in progress, as well as expect events. So those two will be soon implemented by us. But there are many more to do. So for example, there are cheat codes which can modify transaction signatures, and there's lots of data which can be mocked or added. So there's a lot of work to do there if somebody's interested in that. I think this one is one general task, but I think this will be splitted into smaller ones and added as good first issues as well soon. From the bigger things that we plan to work is state forking. I think we start thinking about it next week, and it will be like we start creating some more issues regarding that. So this will be like a bigger milestone to work on. So we can create some tags from that probably. Also, we are collaborating right now with fuzzing labs to support fuzz testing. I think like also gas usage reports will start be like in progress from next 2 weeks. And those right now, if feature is big, we generally have one general big task for that. And after we start to like investigate what this has to be done there, we'll split it into smaller ones. So I'll be more specific. If you want to work on something which is a big, like kind of vague task, you probably just should get in touch and discuss. So this is the best way if you want to someone to want to work on something bigger. I think Telegram group is the great place to start because it will be hard because those bigger tasks we also welcome people to contribute on them, but those require a bit more communication from both sides. I think from good research you can generally do it mostly on your way. Just like you probably should let know in the issue, so you don't have to. Nobody will take it from you.
Yeah, we can assign, like use the assigning option of GitHub to set someone who is already working on it.
Yeah, okay. I think if you can do that, that's the best way. I'm not sure if anybody can do that outside from org, but definitely you can comment.
Yeah, I mean, if someone like comment on the issue and we'll assign it to you.
Yeah, okay. I mean that. Okay, we'll do that definitely. Yeah. If you will say just you want to work on it, we'll assign it to you and it will be yours. Yeah. Also, we are working on starting some work on deployment scripting Cairo. So I think related issues will be appearing soon as well. It's forecast. And though the last three are a bit more like long-term plans, like store loads, cheat codes, or like some L1 interoperability testing and test coverage, I think those will be like a bit more far in the future because those are not critical. Okay, does anybody have any questions here? Oh, I think I skipped low-ID test data from files. It's also, we started working on this. We started some design work on this week. And we plan to, because it was like a lot of requests on that. So but it's just started, so I can't tell you much more. Okay. Any questions here? Okay. Should we go over something else before we delve more into the code itself?
I've got a question.
Of course.
For those that have previously tested their contracts in Protostar, what are the main differences between Starknet Foundry and Protostar?
I think main difference is in Starknet Foundry tests are not contracts anymore. In Protostar, it was like Protostar was in this way was a bit more similar to like the Ethereum Foundry because tests were contracts. Here, tests are code executed like outside of chain, but you can still have a lot of like view into the chain itself. I think maybe a bit hard to grasp, but generally like it works a bit like how would you write your tests in Python, but you write it in Cairo and you have some DevNet instance. So the relationship between tests and chain is a bit similar here.
Okay,
does
thanks.
it answer your question? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Anybody else has any questions?
Yeah. Just to ask when you said that the contracts are not contracts anymore, it doesn't change the way the interaction between the contract calls, right? Like they should sort of like still the same as in Protostar, for example.
Yeah, calls work the same. Like you don't have to transact. You don't have invoke and call. We're actually thinking about adding some capabilities so you can test it in more like integration way. But right now, it basically what it does, it's basically you can call your contracts with dispatchers from tests. So maybe I will show some examples. That will be the simplest way we can. Like the Starknet Foundry book is the best way to look into that. So if you have, for example, deploying new contracts and now invoking contracts. No, it's cast, sorry. Oh, testing smart contract is here. So basically you have a kind of test function, which is like standalone carrier function marked with test. And from this function, you can declare a contract and you can deploy it. You have some address. You basically can use this address in dispatcher. And you can...
Got it. So just like the normal dispatcher should be okay.
I didn't hear you, sorry.
Sorry, just the normal dispatcher, the Cairo one dispatcher should be fine.
Okay, I'm not sure if I heard what you said, but okay.
I think he said it's okay.
Okay, sorry. I'm in the conference room and it's maybe not the best headphones. So thank you for your help. Okay.
I have two quick questions if we have time. Sorry.
Of course.
The first one is about the core lib, which is inside the repository. This core lib is not a subrepo of StarkWare, which means it will be maintained internally because there is some changes required, or just to know a bit the philosophy of the repo.
Okay. So basically, it is there, but it will be removed next few days.
Okay.
So basically, core lib will come from compiler. It is there. Sorry, it's like some leftover from the past, but it will be removed. And what cheat codes will be like located in a Starknet Foundry STD library, which you will download with Scarp like any other Cairo library.
Oh, makes sense. Okay, thank you.
So you can also, it will be possible, for example, to use a different Cairo library to like with the cheat code or something. It will be really flexible in terms of development there, and people can do interesting things with it if they want to do. So, okay. Anybody else has any questions? Okay. Okay, good. Okay. For some reason it's muted. Okay. So we can right now go into the code itself. If it's nothing else I can delve into. And I think it will be a brief overview because it's like lots of stuff to cover. I'll just give you an idea how things work. So basically, if you have a cheat code, it is it's implemented in two places. So first, go to cheatable Starknet, which is like you can think about it as a how to describe it. It's a bit new thing we extracted. I'm still looking for proper wording for that, but I think about it as a Starknet instance, like Blockifier, like Starknet execution engine, but which exposes additional like methods to modify it. Yeah. So if you go into like this SRC, basically you have a set of functions which are cheat codes, and those cheat codes implementation itself basically those are here like just a function. If you go into the definition of this function, which is here, and go here, for example, look into the prank cheat code, it basically gets just adds to the. Okay, this maybe is not the best example to show because it won't be very representative. Okay, it basically it's an implementation for we have a cheated. It implements some functions in cheated state, which is like extension of Starknet state, and it basically adds like, okay, this contract is pranked. to this state. And if you go back here, and here is RPC, which is a bit awkward naming right now, but basically you have a call contract function. And this call contract gets both blockified state and cheated state. I think it will be refactored soon. So it will be like merged into one state, but right now those are two. And what it does here, so it basically, in cheated state, you have contract cheated. And if you call contract, this like executes this entry point. And there's some like lots of not important stuff here. But if we go to the hint cheatable syscall handler, which is a object in Blockifier, which is responsible. Syscall handler is an object in Blockifier, which is responsible for handling syscalls and like hints in general. So basically here, what we do, we have an if here, and we basically capture like, no, we don't capture all hints, we capture only syscalls, and we have overwritten method for executing this syscall. And what happens if you go there? I cannot jump here effectively. Okay, I can jump like this. So basically here, right now it's not very well abstracted. So it's basically a if, which checks VM, which stores, it's stored in the syscall handler, this cheated state I showed you before. And basically address is cheated. What it does, if we go here, it basically checks if there's any cheat code called on it. And if it is there, basically it checks in, like if you look into this function, for example, it basically checks inside of the cheated state if it contains the key we put it before. And if we go back when we were, so basically here, if it's cheated, this address is cheated, we modify the logic of this system call. So basically we execute a logic which writes to Cairo memory values we want to be mocked. And if it's not cheated, we basically fall back to the original syscall handler. And it's basically how those are implemented in Starknet, like in cheatable Starknet, how we call it. And basically what happens then, if you have implemented it in like cheatable Starknet, have a often second issue for that, and it's implemented in Forge. And in Forge, you often can, not often, but you can just, you have a lot of stuff here, so it will be hard to go into exact details. But if you have, I believe it's running, and running basically runs some specific test case. And a specific test case is run with other hint processor, which is a bit similar to the syscall hint processor we've seen before, but this one is for this like Cairo VM we use for testing, not for the Starknet itself. And here you can see it. We just call this. If we, for example, search for start rank, it basically calls this cheated state start rank. So we just from a testing like environment, we call this prank on this. We call the prank on this cheatable state, and then like for example, if you execute here, example would be contract call. Contract call basically calls this cheatable state a cheatable state has the logic of like overriding this behavior I showed you before. So it's basically a brief overview how it works. I know it's pretty complicated. It's hard to explain briefly, and it's best a bit to look into it and ask some questions if you're interested in implementing a cheat code. But yeah, it's generally it. I think it will be better abstracted soon. It's just work in progress still. And this stuff is new, and we don't have, let's say, very good abstractions for those. I believe it will be easier to explain as we have better abstractions for them. Okay, anybody has any questions here?
Actually, thank you, because it's amazing to see this a bit, deeper. Even if there is no lots of abstraction, it's very interesting to know how it works and what the direction you took for this implementation. So that looks very, very awesome, because really, I think possibilities are just huge.
Yeah, I think it's pretty flexible. I think long term, we have been considering like having cheat codes being kind of extension to Starknet Foundry, so people can write their own cheat codes as a Starknet Foundry extensions. So you don't have to even like contribute to my repository. You can just have an extension which is maintained by a different team. But as an idea, it's not going to happen maybe very soon. Yeah, but okay. I think that's it from me. If anybody has any questions about it, I'm happy to answer. If not, I think we can start wrapping up.
Thank you very much for this, Maximilian. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone who attended.
Keep in touch.
Okay.
Bye.